Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be ranking my top 5 teams with the brightest futures right now in the NHL. Now in today's NHL, there is a bunch of teams that have a great mix of young star talent on the NHL roster and an amazing prospect pool. So today I tried to list my 5 teams who I think have the best overall futures and the best chances to possibly win the Stanley Cup in the next decade or so. So, who do I see having the best mixes of young star talent and great prospect pools, and who do I see having the best futures right now in the NHL? Watch till the end for all my picks and opinions, and of course, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Now, I'm going to make it clear that for today's video, I am not factoring in ownership. If I did, I don't even think I would mention the Ottawa Senators, but they still deserve to be here because they have a great future of NHL talent and great prospect pools. And I'm not going to put a negative on that just because their owner doesn't want to pay players unless their name is Thomas Chabot. Now, I'm going to start out at number 5, my 5th team, who I think has one of the brightest futures in the entire NHL. Coming at number 5, I have the LA Kings. Now, in terms of NHL players that are really good and really young, they are definitely probably the shortest on this list, and that's one of the main reasons why they are at number 5. They could have been higher, but in terms of the NHL talent they have on that roster, there really is not too much. To me, the prospect pool is the best in the entire NHL, but the NHL talent is not quite there yet. Starting with the forwards, you have just a whole list of them. Alex Turcotte, Iafallo, Gabriel Vilardi, Arthur Kaliev, Samuel Vegamo, Kupari, Akil Thomas, Dudas, Kempe, Grundstrom, Sodergran, and the list goes on. When it comes to the forwards, they are almost set in stone. There are so many forwards I just listed that can be at least middle 6 NHL players, and LA in just a couple of years is about to be really stacked in that department. Now going on to the defense in the prospect pool, and although it's much weaker, it is still very solid. You got some good options like Kale Clegg, Tobias Bjornfoot, who's very solid, Mikey Anderson, Sean Dursey, Jordan Spence. Not bad options whatsoever. But the goaltending is a worry in my opinion, especially when we're talking about clear-cut futures. There is a lot of teams ahead of LA that have clear-cut starter options for the future. And although I think Cal Peterson will be an NHL goalie, I'm really not sure how good he'll really be. But LA, in my opinion, still has an amazing future ahead of them. Even though they don't have amazing talent on the Kings roster right now, the prospect pool is good enough to carry them in that department. And the future looks totally bright. They could be a completely different team in 2 years with a heavy offense of guys like Turcotte, Kaliev, Clegg, and all these guys coming up that will be impact players. And for the LA Kings, although they might not win a Stanley Cup in the next few years, that might be a team that is contending very, very soon, and if the prospects actually develop right, could be a team that is dangerous as soon as like 2022. But now heading on into number 4, my 4th best future in the entire NHL, I have the Buffalo Sabres. Now again, I am not factoring in ownership for this, so even though the Buffalo Sabres are pretty much useless at running a hockey team, they still have on paper a very good future in terms of great NHL talent at points and a great prospect pool too. Now, Buffalo doesn't have one position that's absolutely stacked like the LA Kings do with their forwards, but in terms of the forwards for the Sabres, they still look very solid. Of course, you got Jack Eichel, who last time I heard, he's pretty good at hockey. You also got Victor Olofsson, who is also pretty good at hockey. Sam Reinhart, Dylan Cousins coming up, Casey Middlestat if he develops, Rasmus Asplund, and then on the defense you have Rasmus Dahlin, Henry Jokiharju, Paulette, Ryan Johnson, Matthias Samuelsson. The goaltending is also very solid in my opinion. Ullmark, who looked pretty good, especially in the second half of this year for Buffalo, a lot better than he did in the first half. He might have a future as a potential starter for Buffalo. And you also got Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, one of the best names in terms of prospects right now, and has a lot of talent. To me, he can be a starter goaltender, but he will have to be given some time. He's not going to be a starter next year, but I think eventually can be starter material. Now, Buffalo has been so bad for so long, and it's kind of like if you don't have a great future, then what are you even doing at that point? So Buffalo, in that respect, is able to build a pretty solid prospect pool and a great group of young NHL players. But again, this is still the Buffalo Sabres we're talking about. This management is pretty much inept, and I'm really not sure they'll be able to actually use these guys correctly. But again, when we're looking on paper, when we're looking at the guys that they have, I really like the 2 guys in Dahlin and Jokiharju going forward. You have a great solid forward group as well. But again, this is the Buffalo Sabres, so who even knows at this point? And now moving on to number 3, my third best future across the entire NHL. I have these guys, the Ottawa Senators. Now, just like Buffalo, I am not factoring in management here. Friggin' Melnick, get the heck out of here either way. But when it comes to their prospect pool, it is one of the better ones across the entire NHL. Totally top 6 in my opinion. And then you have great NHL players on the roster too, like Brady Tkachuk, who I think can be a franchise forward, and Thomas Chabot, who had a great year for Ottawa, was seriously underrated, and soon might be one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL. When you factor in the amount of options they have in both forwards, defense, and goaltending, that's a team that if they actually pay the players and do things right, will be very good in a short little bit too. When you look at the forward group, it could be absolutely nasty. You already have Brady Tkachuk, who's one of the most underrated forwards in the entire NHL. Then you have Colin White, Josh Norris, you have Logan Brown, Drake Batherson. I think I said Drake Batherson, Alex Formenton, Abramov, Lapik. You have Shane Pinto as well. There are so many good options, and a lot of those guys I think can be top 6 forwards in the NHL someday. But again, if developed right. But you already have such a great AHL team in the Belleville Senators that has developed players in the past, and then you go on to the defense, which can be even more solid and even more productive at the NHL level. Now, all of this is already so promising with the forwards, the defense, the goaltending. All of it is a great prospect pool on top of great NHL players already. But that would be fine by itself, right? That's already a great future. Then you factor in what they could potentially do at the 2020 NHL draft. First off, they have 2 potential top 5 picks in their own and San Jose's. Absolute robbery. Then you go to the New York Islanders pick, which could potentially be another lottery pick if the Islanders miss the playoffs. However, that draft lottery ends up going. Then you have four different second round picks and then 2 third round picks. 9 different picks in just the first 3 rounds. You already have such a great prospect pool, and in my opinion, this 2020 draft can make them one of the best, if not even better than LA's, depending on how well they do. That is absolute robbery, and in terms of great NHL futures, in terms of picks and prospects they already have, Ottawa is looking very, very good right now. Now, there is still 2 other teams that I prefer in terms of futures in the NHL than the Ottawa Senators right now, but don't get me wrong, there's not that much of a difference between the Ottawa Senators and number 1. It's a pretty close race between these 3 teams. But coming in at number 2, my second best future and brightest future across the entire NHL, I have the Colorado Avalanche. To me, there's no better mix right now of amazing, elite NHL talent on their team and elite, amazing talent in their prospect pool. That's a team that could win the Stanley Cup this year and still have one of the best futures to win multiple Stanley Cups across the next decade. As a Dallas Stars fan, I am really scared of what they might become because they're already such a great team and they have so much other talent coming up the ranks. When you look at just the forwards, it's already so good. You have Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Alex Newhook. You have Shane Bowers, Martin Kaut, who are all looking very, very solid, and Nathan MacKinnon is also pretty good at hockey last time I checked. The defense is also great for the future. You have Cale Makar, who could win a Calder Trophy this season, but also Bowen Byram, Connor Timmins, who had a great rebound year after a huge concussion, but you have Samuel Girard, who's great in the NHL now, and Ryan Graves, who's very solid too. That's a potential top 6 defense already set in stone, not even factoring the other guys that they already have. Now, at points throughout the last year, you could look at the goaltending and think it might be a weakness, but that's already been solved this year since Pavel Francouz has just turned into a beast somehow. But you also have a great young goaltender in Justus Annunen, who has looked absolutely amazing in Finland over the past couple of seasons. That's a guy who I think has bona fide starter potential, one of the best goaltending prospects across the entire NHL, and I think for Colorado can be at least a starter for them and could lead them to a Stanley Cup. That's a team that already has such a great foundation on them, just on the NHL roster alone. But then you factor in the great prospects of Bowen Byram, Connor Timmins, Alex Newhook. The great drafts they've had since 2017 have all helped them. That's a team that in terms of great talent on the roster, both old and young, has such a great mix, and in my opinion has one of the best chances of any team right now in the NHL to not just win the Cup this year, but to win multiple cups over the next 5 seasons. But now going on to number 1, in my opinion, the team that has the best future in the entire National Hockey League, I'm going to go with number 1, with the New York Rangers. In my opinion, in terms of forwards, defense, and goaltending on the team and on the now, the New York Rangers have one of the most complete futures in the entire NHL. When you factor in even the guys that are on the NHL, which aren't even young players, Artemi Panarin, Hart candidate. Mika Zibanejad, one of the most underrated centers in the entire league. Then you go on to so many other players too, like Chris Kreider, who they're keeping, Pavel Buchnevich, not even mentioning just the future guys that they have. But in terms of the forwards, you got Kaapo, Kakko, Philip Heel, Vitaly Kravtsov, Elias Anderson, Brett Howden. You also got Carl Henriksen, who I think is super underrated. And a lot of other guys that are kind of in that kind of middle 6 area that I didn't even mention that can become solid NHL players. The defense is also fantastic. Nils Lundkvist, who is breaking SHL records for defensemen under 20 years old for being as good as he was, and he is very good, by the way. You got Keandre Miller, Zach Jones, who is seriously underrated, Matthew Robertson, Timo Rantanen, so many good prospects in that department. But then you go on to the goaltending and just the revelation of amazing talent. Igor Shesterkin, who's one of the best young goaltenders in the entire NHL. Then you have Alexander Georgiev, who has starter potential just by himself. You also had Tyler Wall, who's having an amazing NCAA season, was maybe the best goaltender in the NCAA. And it's just an absolute plethora. They didn't need Tyler Wall to be amazing, but he's just amazing. And that's how it's gone for New York scouting in the past couple of years. And in my opinion, in terms of NHL teams that have the best potential to be great now and 10 years from now, I think the New York Rangers are the best in that department, with already so many great talented players on the roster and so many great young options who will be great NHL players in the future, in my opinion. Even though for some of them it might take some time, Kaapo Kakko needs some time, Vitaly Kravtsov needs some time, Elias Anderson definitely needs some time to develop. That's a team that as they continue to develop will get better and better, and they already have a great NHL team on their hands right now. I didn't even mention Tony DeAngelo, who's also super young and super great offensively. That's a team that is complete in almost every way, and if they can get that defense fixed and fire Lindy Ruff, that's a team that will be dangerous heading into the potential playoffs, and I think can be a Stanley Cup contender in no time. But those are my top 5 picks, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you agree and disagree with, and also let me know who you think has the best future across the entire NHL. Of course, with this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already. And of course, share this video with your friends. Get the word out there, boys, about the best futures in the National Hockey League. And click on this card right here to watch all of my videos on the 2020 NHL Draft. You will not be disappointed. My name is Nathan, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.